So if you can age, let's see, every 6 months, you only age 1 month. Wouldn't that be better?
That'd be great. You got everybody's attention right now. What was astounding to me when I started my wellness practice was the paucity of knowledge and understanding about this miracle antioxidant. I understand it to be the most prevalent antioxidant in the human body. Every single cell in our bodies contains glutathione. It's manufactured by our liver, but I feel like it's the mother of all antioxidants that most people have never heard of.
The reason we don't talk about glutathione, even though we have known for glutathione for over 100 plus years, is we have never figured out how to
Hey guys, welcome back to the Ultimate Human Podcast. I'm your host, human biologist Gary Brecka, where we go down the road, everything anti-aging, longevity, biohacking, and everything in between. And today's guest, as you just heard, is a powerhouse. I actually met him at an A4M conference. This is the big age medicine conference that's hosted once or twice a year all over the world. And I was actually absolutely enthralled by some of the products that he was developing as a pharmacist. Not only his background as a professor, but also his thorough understanding of transdermal delivery in certain, not just pharmaceuticals, but certain things like glutathione and other things that we're trying to get into our bodies that we're trying to avoid first-pass metabolism, which is our digestive system, because our digestive system is a very inhospitable place, and it's a very difficult route for delivery into the body. And let's just face it, a lot of people don't like to do IVs, and they don't like needle sticks, and so they're looking for other mechanisms to deliver not just pharmaceuticals, but hormones and antioxidants, and vitamins, minerals, and nutrients of all kinds. So this is going to be an amazing podcast today, and I really want to welcome Dr. Patel to the podcast. It's great to have you on.
It's my pleasure to be here today, Gary.
And truth be told, right before we started, Dr. Patel told me that his wife is a fan of mine, and she follows all my videos, right? And forwards them to your friends?
Forwards to my kids and her friends, everybody. So.
To your kids, to your friends. So great. We already know that your wife's a good person, so we don't need to cover that. But I want to just get right into it because I'm fascinated by your research into glutathione. Yep. And I'll tell you what my understanding is of glutathione. It's probably certainly not as in-depth as yours. And I think most of my audience has heard of it. But what was astounding to me when I started my wellness practice was the paucity of knowledge and understanding about this miracle antioxidant. I understand it to be the most prevalent antioxidant in the human body. Mm-hmm. Every single cell in our bodies contains glutathione.
That's right.
It's manufactured by our liver. But in times of stress or when the liver is under stress, especially, you see glutathione levels drop, and therefore you have this whole myriad of consequences. But I feel like it's the mother of all antioxidants that most people have never heard of. Like if I think if you took let's say a slice out of middle class America and you said what's the number one antioxidant in the human body, they would say things like vitamin C.
That's right.
Or blueberries have antioxidants. And so I would love for you to take us down the road of what glutathione is, what's its role in the human body, why is it so important. And then I want to transition into the different delivery mechanisms and how people can benefit by adding glutathione to their regimen.
Absolutely. And you just said right. People don't understand antioxidants because they're used to, drink your orange juice per day. There's all the antioxidants in there.
Right.
And so
eat blueberries.
Or blueberries, whatever, right? So they're trying to get the antioxidants from the food source, which is the right thing to do because we want them to eat the right types of fruits and vegetables every single day. But the reason we don't talk about glutathione, even though we have known for glutathione for over 100 plus years, is we have never figured out how to get inside your body. So even though we inject it, take a pill or inhale, like I have a lot of athletes, they'll inhale a glutathione, or they may do a suppository or whatever, whatever they
So they
feel.
Vaporize it. They nebulize it.
Yeah. And so they think that they're getting into the system, but it's not there. So we'll talk about the delivery system next, but let's talk about what is it, right? So the glutathione, And you said right now, most of the people have not heard about it because of the fact that people do not understand what it is and how to deliver that part. But you're talking about middle America, but even people that have very affluent. We were recently at one of the award shows, and literally 90% of the people, these are high-powered CEOs, have never heard of glutathione before. And I was shocked to see this. And wait a second, you have all the resources in the world, yet you have no idea what glutathione is. So we're going to talk about glutathione. First thing, it's the simplest peptide the body produces. It's when I say peptide, it's just 3 amino acids.
It's 3 amino acids.
So it's a tripeptide. It's not a protein. It could be a protein, but not really. It's a tripeptide, very simple form. And when you combine those 3 amino acids together, it has more than one properties. And that's what we want to find out. What are the properties? Because if something does one thing, it's good. It's a mother of all antioxidants. That's just one of the function, right? Because as a glutathione, what it does, it quenches all the free radicals because our body is exposed to free radicals all the time. That's one. On top of that, our body produces free radicals because of chemical reaction that happens every single day in our life.
Yeah, chemical waste.
Yeah,
sure.
Chemical waste. So the free radicals are inevitable. It's always going to be in our body, and that's how you're always going to be aging. Only thing that you can control is the pace. It's not if, it's the pace, right? So if you can age, let's see, every 6 months, you only age 1 month.
Right.
Wouldn't that be better?
That'd
right?
be great. And you got everybody's attention right now,
right?
Including mine.
So that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. And so the pace of aging has to be done, and the free radicals are always going to produce. So that's one of the functions. That's what it's known for. The second part that nobody talks about this thing is glutathione actually helps with phase 1, phase 2 detoxification pathways for making sure it activates the liver and basically helps get rid of all the chemicals we're exposed to.
You know, I don't want to cut you off, but before we get further, I want to talk about phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification because I'm a huge fan of methylation and decided to dedicate the balance of my adult lifetime to the study of methylation. And these methylation pathways dump into 2 main pathways. One is transsulfuration, and the other one is glutathione synthesis. And we absolutely see impaired methylation leading to poor glutathione synthesis having demonstrative consequences in the onset of, the severity of, and eventually how quickly people succumb to disease and pathology. I assume that it must have something to do with the inflammatory process or what have you. So can you talk a little bit about phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification? When you use those terms, what are you referring to for the audience?
I'm looking for those liver enzymes. I'm making sure the CYP enzymes, which one has not clearing up effectively.
Okay.
Because if you are exposing yourself to, let's say, hormones, and if you have CYP1B1 enzyme gene mutation, then it doesn't matter. All the hormones you're taking is actually working against you because your body cannot clear them out.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. So there's a lot of medications that you take, a lot of foods you eat that your liver has to clean out. And if you have one of those gene SNPs that your body cannot metabolize it or conjugate it, you have an issue with buildup of all this medication in your body that is actually working against you. The second part, you talk about the the methylation transferase as well as the glutathione transferase. The glutathione transferase is a protective system that is activated because the need for glutathione has increased so much that so the body activates those systems to produce glutathione. Now it needs 3 things, right? 3 amino acids, 2 enzymes, and a catalyst like selenium to produce 1 molecule of glutathione. And with that, there's 2 things that requires ATP and NAD. So, I mean, it's a multifactorial problem, and I don't know how much stuff we can replace. Can we replace ATP? Maybe not. Can we replace NAD? Maybe. Can we replace the amino acids? Maybe. Can we replace the 2 enzymes? I don't. That's sketchy. Can we replace selenium? It's a heavy metal. How much do we replace? So, it's a very delicate balance. And sometimes us humans wants to take over our body's natural process, you know what? Don't worry. I'm just going to give it to you, glutathione, as is. So don't
Right.
worry about it, right?
Right.
We got you covered. So don't work too hard. We got you covered. And so we want to make sure that if the body doesn't have the capacity to respond to body's needs are, then we have to find an alternative source to deliver this glutathione into the system.
Now, what about people that, because I've read tangentially, I don't know that I've actually read a clinical study about this, but that if you take too much glutathione, you'll reduce your endogenous production, the liver's production of glutathione, or that you should cycle on and off of glutathione supplements. This was in an article that was about intravenous glutathione, high-dose intravenous glutathione, and that by administering it too often, too frequently, or in too high of a dosage, that you would actually reduce your endogenous production.
So I think that, again, there's no studies being done like that, so we do not know if that's for sure or not. But I truly believe that if you give exogenous glutathione, especially the way the body can absorb it correctly, that it will shut down your own production. But keep in mind, glutathione is not a hormone. It's not produced by pituitary or hypothalamus, right? So when you're talking about negative feedbacks and said, hey, I don't want my body to get lazy and not produce what I need to do, we're talking about hormones. We're talking about something that the pituitary and the hypothalamus will do it for us. When it comes to the glutathione, it's not supposed to be an issue because the issue with glutathione is what? We need ATP and NAD to produce glutathione. ATP and NAD, if we do not produce glutathione, guess what they'll do? There's so many different peptides they can produce all day long.
Right.
So it's the energy is never wasted to do something else. And even though you supplement glutathione, and we'll go into supplementation later on, but you're going to find out that none of the supplements actually absorb in your body at all, ever.
Wow. So if you're just taking a glutathione tablet or capsule or sublingual, you're getting virtually or none of that glutathione.
So none as a glutathione. The glutathione levels will rise in your body, but not because your body absorbed it. The body breaks down the glutathione, takes up the amino acids, sometimes like 2 amino acids, sometimes a single amino acid, but then they will combine back together.
You know, it's interesting. I talk about this with proteins all the time. I mean, most people think that amino acids are proteins. They're actually not. They're the building blocks of proteins. And that if you don't have amino acids in the right ratios, when it runs out of a certain amino acid, it quits the production of it. It sort of shuts down the entire assembly line, right? And so balanced amino acid profiles are so important because then you give the liver exactly what it needs to assemble whatever protein it's going to assemble, or go to the muscle and help repair muscle. It sounds like a very similar action is at play with glutathione, because you're saying if you just take the 3 amino acids as glutathione and you swallow it, or you take it in a liposomal version or a sublingual version or what have you, your body's actually not receiving that glutathione. Your glutathione production may rise, but that's because that glutathione is being metabolized in the liver, assembled back into those 3 amino acids, and returned to the bloodstream as glutathione.
That's exactly right. Yeah. That's why if you look at the FDA, it's only approved one product ever in the history, which is NAC. They have not approved anything else. So even in the ER right now, if you go with a Tylenol overdose and you're about to die, the drug of choice is NAC.
N-acetylcysteine.
N-acetylcysteine to revive you back. And all it's doing is producing enough amount of glutathione in there.
Oh, is that what NAC is doing?
Yeah.
I wonder, because I take NAC sometimes if I've got like excess mucus or phlegm or things, I feel like it kind of dries me out a little bit, in a good way.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that the mechanism of action for N-acetylcysteine was to raise glutathione.
That's
so
right.
It's an indirect way.
It's an indirect way
of helping you raise glutathione. So then what's special about the transdermal route, and what's special about combining glutathione with other molecules in order to actually have that glutathione show up directly in the bloodstream?
Yeah, that was...
a loaded question.
It's a loaded question.
I ask really good questions. You're going to find that out. My last guest said the same thing.
So when I say the glutathione, you're right. When I was first hired, I was hired to work on vitamin C because they thought the vitamin C was the best.
Everybody does,
right? And I said, okay, that's not going to work for me. I said, I'll work for you on vitamin C, but personally, I'm going to work on glutathione. So I used to use up all my resources I have on working on master antioxidant glutathione because it was too difficult. Nobody wanted to touch it. My goal as a pharmacist was just, can I stabilize the glutathione in a water-based system outside the human body? That was the only goal I had.
Really?
I did not go any further than that. And it took me about a few years, and we figured out a way to literally stabilize the glutathione at room temperature in a water-based system that's still on my shelf that smells like sulfur.
Yeah, it does smell like, I just sprayed it on my arm. It's not it doesn't smell that good, but it goes away.
It goes away.
It goes right away.
And so that was my goal, to first put a chemical cap on the thiol group, because that thiol group gets oxidized very, very fast. So I had to put a chemical cap on it, because if I put any other caps on it, it just destroys the whole molecule. And that's why all this eons of research on glutathione, nobody could figure out how to put a chemical cap on it. So that was my first patent on that one, to get the chemical cap on the glutathione.
And essentially what this chemical cap is doing is keeping the glutathione from denaturing but before it even gets into the body, right?
Exactly.
So in the suspension.
In the solution.
Right, in the solution.
So it stays there all the time like that. And so now I said, well, somebody else will do the research to get inside your body. Guess what?
Nobody did the research.
Nobody was going to do the research. So I said, okay. So I told my PhD on staff with me. I said, Dr. Tran, we're going to work together and try to figure this thing out, how to get inside your body. Never in a million years I thought this was going to be a topical route.
Wow.
Right? Because as a pharmacist's brain, we've been programmed that to get inside your body, it has to be inside the body, either through injections, through oral, nasal spray, suppository, something.
Sublingual, nebulizer, right.
Yeah. The goal is you have to physically see it going inside your body. That's the perception that we have about medicine. It has to go inside the body. And once it goes into the body, our job's done. Now the body, you take care of the rest and take it to where it needs to.
Right.
The body spits it out. Right? Because body goes, no, thank you. I know what my body is doing. I know what I need to do. I don't need your help.
Right.
And spits it out. And so with us, what we did was we took the same technology that we put a chemical cap on it, and we somehow figured out how to trap this glutathione molecule and rotate this in a way that can reduce the size of the molecule. And, and so when we did that part, it
like
kind
a protein folding almost.
Protein enveloping, yeah, exactly, okay. Protein folding. So we did that part, and when we did that part, it started getting through your skin very easily.
And now, how were you measuring this? Were you doing serum concentration studies?
Blood.
So
we're doing red blood cells levels.
So you're actually going one step further, not just entering the blood, but actually inside the RBC.
Yeah, because if you measure the whole blood, the plasma glutathione level has a very, very short life, because plasma, it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
The kidney filters it out and dumps everything, all the glutathione in the urine in about 15 minutes. It's gone. As early as 5 minutes, as much as 15 minutes is already out of the system. And so it was not helpful for me to understand to have glutathione in the plasma at all. So I needed it in the blood cells. In the blood cells, that's the only way I can measure intracellular levels, because I don't want to do tissue biopsies.
Right.
So what we figured out that the base that we use is actually binding to the ACE2 receptors on your cells. Every cells have lipid rafts. The lipid rafts have ACE2 receptors. That receptor is the gateway to communicate with the cells. So we use the receptors, right? If you take a blood pressure pills, they have an ACE inhibitor to block the receptor so the blood pressure doesn't go up, right?
Right.
So we use the same receptor to deliver nutrients to your cells.
So this ACE receptor actually pulls it through the phospholipid bilayer into the cell, and now you have an intracellular concentration.
Now it's concentration. And so now when the glutathione gets inside the body for the very first time, I mean, that's when the miracle happens, right? Because when people ask us, what does it do? What is it going to do for me? I said, well, I don't know. I really do not know, because we have no idea what your body has adjusted to based on the lack of nutrients you have now.
Right.
And so everybody has different effects.
You know, I can tell you emphatically, it's not placebo, that when I use your topical glutathione, I'll spray it 4 times or so on the inside of my forearm and rub it in. I do notice a noticeable increase in just energy and clarity almost immediately thereafter. So just within a few minutes. And I thought it was placebo at first. I don't think it's placebo now because I could vary the time of day that I do it, and I'm pretty in tune with my body, so I can actually tell that something good has happened in my body. And I don't really know how to describe it other than sort of this elevated lift of just mental clarity, kind of alertness, and just feeling clean and aware. Like more, maybe it's more cognizant when I'm.
Do you have the gene mutation, the MTHFR, or
I do.
Yeah.
I do have MTHFR.
So that's the issue. So most of my clients, they have this gene mutation. When they apply the glutathione, they feel the effects of head clearing up within 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I experienced.
But the energy that you're feeling,
because I'm homozygous for MTHFR-C or A1298C. I have a copy of the A1298C and also a copy of the C677T. So I have both SNPs.
Both of them.
Yeah. So I noticed the glutathione. That's probably, now that I think about it, it's probably a lot of the reason why, because the transsulfuration and glutathione pathways are inhibited.
That's right.
I also notice when I take adequate amounts of methylfolate that I feel better, and I notice the days when I don't take methylfolate. Now I don't notice when I do actually take my supplements. It doesn't make a difference. The difference is when I don't. Sometimes I'll leave town, I'll forget my vitamin tray, and I'll notice the difference. My wife is very good about reminding me about my vitamins because she says, I don't think I have a temper, but she says I do. And she's like, "Did you take your vitamins today?" So she always actually carries an extra pack with her.
The energy that you noticed is ATP, ATP sparing molecule. So I'm assuming you're in very good health internally. Externally, you look amazing, but internally, we are in very good health. And so when you're in very good health, so most of my athletes, they have the same exact notice, right? They notice the increase in energy, but it's not a caffeine energy.
Yes. It's definitely not a caffeine energy.
It's the intrinsic energy of ATP getting spared. And when you have spare ATP, now your body's looking for other things to do. Imagine a house person in your house that is a workaholic, has nothing to do in your house. Is that person is looking to fix something all the time. Right. So ATP is now spared. Now it has a lot of energy. Now is looking for things to do in your body.
So talk a little bit about. So you developed this about protein folding and this chemical cap. So now you have this delivery system for transdermal.
Transdermal.
And now once glutathione goes transdermal into the body, do you recommend that people take glutathione every day?
Every day.
Do you see? Okay.
Yes, every day.
And when it goes transdermal, enters the bloodstream, eventually makes its way into the cell. Talk a little bit about what it's doing, because I think I have the same theory as a lot of anti-aging, longevity, biohacking researchers' theory about aging, and that eventually it's a mitochondrial disease, right? Is progressive decline in mitochondrial function, and I don't know that there is much in the world of pathology or disease or dysfunction that you can't trace back to the mitochondria. Virtually everything starts and ends with the mitochondria. So if the glutathione is going intracellular, once it's in the cytoplasm of the cell, what kind of activities is glutathione providing? Is it helping with cellular waste elimination, repair, regeneration, detoxification?
The two things that I know of is most is the neutralizing all the free radicals, our species, and the conjugating and removing all the toxic overload. Repair, I am not 100% sure yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is the first time we have actually gone into the body.
Right.
Hey guys, if you've been watching the Ultimate Human podcast for any length of time, you know that one thing I do not do is push products. I do not just let any advertiser into this space, because I believe that the products that appear on the Ultimate Human podcast should be things that I use every day in my life to improve my own physiology. One of them is something called the Echo Go Plus. The Echo Go Plus is a hydrogen water generator that you can take on the go. You essentially take the top off of this bottle, you pour bottled water in this, seconds, and repeatedly it will make high part per million hydrogen water. You press this little button, you'll see these bubbles going up in the water. That's hydrogen being created in the water. There are all kinds of peer-reviewed, published clinical studies on the benefits of hydrogen water, including reduced inflammation, better absorption of your supplements, better absorption of your foods, better balance of the stomach acid, and it feeds an entire class of bacteria in your gut. Hydrogen water, in my opinion, is the most beneficial water that you can drink, and now you can take it wherever you go. You can go to Echo, ECHO, H2O.com. That's Echo, ECHO, H2O.com. Enter the code ULTIMATE10 for a discount. Echo H2O, enter the code ULTIMATE10 for a discount.
So research needs to start. We need to start now, is to try to figure out what else can we do with it.
Mm-hmm. But we know now that it's going to help the cell eliminate waste and detoxify.
That's
so
right.
Obviously, that's clearly a good thing. I mean, I've often hypothesized that if we don't get rid of the exhaust, it essentially backs up and blows the engine. Right.
That's right.
And I think it's a very overlooked part of modern medicine, even functional medicine, is that cellular metabolism is a dirty process. I mean, from a cellular perspective, right? It's a very dirty process. It creates a lot of waste, and you need to take the trash out. And glutathione helps take the trash out.
It's the most effective way to take the trash out.
Yeah. So now, in your opinion, so people that are doing high-dose glutathione IVs or liposomal glutathione or these orals, I've never believed in oral glutathione, but and I've ever actually seen the research on liposomal glutathione. But in your opinion, these are less effective, if effective at all.
No, they are effective, but it's just that it will be effective in people that have the ability to deconstruct the molecule, absorb the molecule, and reconstruct again on demand. But if you have a gene mutation and you take a product that can deconstruct, but they cannot reconstruct again, now all of a sudden you have all this waste. So now you're creating more waste in your body than actually helping you. And the question you asked earlier about, can we take too much of glutathione? Until now, that wasn't the case. You can literally, I have doctors that have injected 10 grams of IV push of glutathione for Parkinson's patients.
Right.
10 grams it's a barbaric dose for topical version that we have. If you have to give, everything goes intracellularly, I mean, your body will not be able to tolerate that.
Right.
That is like crazy amount. But yet they have been giving this high dose. Why? Because the body breaks it down, cysteine gets reabsorbed, and cysteine is being used to produce glutathione again. So all of a sudden, it doesn't really matter what dose you give them. It's all you're doing is just increasing amino acids in your body and allowing the body to reproduce the medications for yourself. Like you take methylfolate. Why can't you take folic acid? Because folic acid has to convert to methylfolate to get absorbed in your body.
That's right.
And folic acid is what your body can use up, but the body cannot use folic acid.
Right.
But guess what? The pharmaceutical company has been giving us folic acid for 100 plus years.
Right.
It's a useless drug.
Right.
It's a useless drug.
It's useless. And quite frankly, it's, in my industry, when I was in the mortality space, we would see people that had chronic anemias. And the frontline supplementation for anemia, as you know, is iron, B12, and folic acid. And they would give them iron, B12, folic acid, and iron and B12 and folic acid, and iron and B12 and folic acid. And the iron levels would skyrocket, but the anemia would never go away. And when they would switch to methylfolate, simple switch to the methylated form of that nutrient, boom, the anemia would go away right away. And I think that, this touches on the point that, first of all, the methylation is very important in the human body. And that secondly, we sometimes assume, in my opinion, that, and I think it's a very dangerous assumption, that all human beings are treating vitamins, minerals, amino acids, nutrients the same way, and we're not. What goes into your body may be methylated very differently than what goes into my body, which is probably why I feel energy from the glutathione. You might not if you don't have the MTHFR gene mutation. And it's estimated that 44%, some even as high as 60% of the population has that gene mutation. So they could really benefit from glutathione. That's what you're saying.
Wow.
Now, can you put this? What are aside from cellular waste and detoxification? What are some of the other benefits of glutathione? I know that it's used cosmetically to lighten the skin.
Well, so keep in mind, your skin is the largest organ.
Mm-hmm.
It's exposed to the environmental toxins the most.
Right.
So as a skin as an organ is pretty toxic, right? And we try to eliminate, you do sauna and you do all these therapies to remove all the phthalates out of your skin all the time, right? You burn off all the excess gas. So skin needs nourishment. The issue is if you take glutathione internally or whatever forms, it goes into your blood first and goes to the rest of the body and then eventually come back to the skin again.
Right.
So the fact that we apply glutathione on the skin directly is so much beneficial because it helps you with your skin immediately. And so again, that was a side project. I said, hey, you know what? If I'm going to help with people with glutathione, same technology, I'm going to use everything else and use the glutathione, vitamin C, and all the things that I know of, and make it into some face creams so that my guys and girls they enjoy what they do.
Oh no, I know they're all listening to this now because I mean I won't say that I'm by far a skincare expert, but I don't know that I've seen glutathione in skincare products.
No, because it doesn't absorb.
Because it doesn't absorb.
No. I should take it back. There are plenty of glutathione products in the market for skin. Nothing works.
Right.
Nothing ever worked for this one until we got the technology to get.
And do they use it for skin lightening? I mean, I just know the pharmacy that we do business with. I've never used it, and I don't think our clinicians have ever prescribed it. But I see it on the pharmacology list there that glutathione and the indication is for skin lightening. Is that it?
So that's something that came out of the Asian market, and they've been injecting glutathione with vitamin C every week injections for skin lightening, and it worked. It does work. And so, but
why would someone want to lighten their skin? Vanity, or is it?
Well, why would somebody want to darken the skin?
I guess that's a good
So
point.
people that are fair wants to darken the skin. People that are dark, they want to lighten the skin.
No.
Nobody was happy with what they have.
So somebody that's really dark pigmented could use high dose glutathione and vitamin C to actually lighten their skin.
Well, the thing is, what they're really doing is they're burning all the melanin. It's not a healthy way to lighten the skin.
Okay.
When you use topical glutathione,
It
doesn't seem healthy.
Yeah, it didn't seem
But
healthy.
if you use a topical version, what it's actually doing is removing all the debris out. So if you have those oxidized lipids on your skin that's coming out all the dark spots, and when that goes neutralized, the skin gets all fair. So that I'm okay with it, but I'm not okay with burning the skin or burning the melanin to make it lighter.
Right.
And so that's not fun.
And when you combine these things, let's say that someone's using a transdermal glutathione, but they're also using a topical glutathione skincare. Are they overdosing on glutathione? Because I assume it's the same folded protein in the topical skincare.
So when people buy the products from us, both of them, then we always send them the videos to say, okay, you can use both products at the same day, but make sure you don't double up on the dosages. So if you do skincare, then skip the topical version for that evening, and then use the topical in the morning. Well, there's no morning skincare glutathione in there.
How when we look at blood biomarkers when our clinicians are prescribing glutathione IVs, one of the main markers that we look at is alkaline phosphatase, the AST and ALT enzymes in the liver. So looking at inflammation and irritation in the liver, and looking to lower those enzymes when the liver is under stress by using high doses of glutathione. And I will tell you, we have substantial, albeit anecdotal, evidence that it's very effective. Because we'll pull labs on patients sometimes 10 to 12 weeks apart, and we'll see patients with severely elevated liver enzymes, and they respond very well to glutathione. But what you're telling me is they're not really responding directly to the glutathione. They're responding to that person's that person's liver's capacity to actually reassemble the glutathione. That's right. Really what's happening. But you're saying now we can remove the middleman. We can remove the liver and deliver it directly to the bloodstream.
Yeah, liver has so much jobs. Leave them alone. Right?
Yeah, it's got a lot to do. Trust me, I know.
So I say just give it to the glutathione, to the liver. And again, when you said that earlier about what's the max dose, can you give too much of glutathione? When I used the doses topically about the IV doses I was using before, I have so much reactions in my patients. I said, we got to stop it. So that took me on a rabbit hole for a few years, trying to figure out what dose to give, how much to give, how often to give, do all the PK studies we had to do to make sure how much glutathione do we give. We found out that most people only need about 100 to 200 milligrams per day, or twice a day. That's all they need.
100 to 200 milligrams a day transdermal.
Transdermal.
Okay.
Compared to 2 to 10 grams of IVs.
Right.
Is barbaric, right?
And the IV is not practical either. I mean, yes, you could do it once a week if you really wanted to do them once a week, or every other week, or once a month. But it's like the big high dose NAD drips. I think you're better off administering low doses of NAD on a daily basis than once a month going in for 1,000 milligrams of NAD and doing this 4-hour, 6-hour IV. Unless you have something specifically going on at that time that you're trying to address.
And I'm okay with the IVs if it's working for you. But if it's not working for you, right, then why do it?
Right.
Or if you can get the same treatment done at your own home in 20 seconds, rub it on and you're done and go about your day, why would you spend 3 hours at a doctor's office and get your IVs done? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And so when you do the topical version, it is literally helping patients eliminate all these issues that you're talking about, the liver enzymes, the AST, the ALT, the alk phos, all those things.
Right.
We are seeing patients reporting to us about having those changes being noticed within 3 to 6 months. Well, 6 months is kind of too far.
Right.
But with 3 months
within
or
3
less,
months is when we're doing it, 12 weeks.
But here's the thing. How many people have NASH or NFLD or cirrhosis today? It is skyrocketing. And they're predicting that over 50% of the world's population is going to have this by 2040, 2050.
50%?
50%.
Of the world's population is going to have
NFLD or NASH or something like that. Something to do with the liver.
Wow.
It is
non-alcoholic
humongous.
fatty liver disease. For those people that don't know what NFLD is, that's the which I didn't know it was that prevalent. But I will say that even in our own patient population, you see a rise in fatty liver in patients that do not drink alcohol or certainly don't drink it excessively. And I think that link is being dispelled now, that it's not just high consumption of alcohol that's causing this non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. I mean,
toxicities in the environment is rampant. So when you see that and you see the liver enzymes high, liver enzymes comes back to normal, and you think you're cured.
Right.
It's further away from that. Just because liver enzymes are normal, that is just the inflammation is back to normal. The liver is still toxic. So it takes, if not months, it takes a couple of years to completely clean it out.
Really?
So it takes a long, long time to do that part. And so we are very fortunate to be working with few clinicians in my neighborhood, and we are helping a lot of patients try to clean the liver out by glutathione.
So I mean, talk a little bit about. I know that you do a lot of lecturing on pharmaceutical drug delivery routes, but talk a little bit about what's kind of inspiring you right now, research wise, with glutathione, or anything else for that matter.
I mean. Now, this is sneak peek what I'm working on right now. So 2 molecules that I'm passionate about right now. One is NAD, because now if I can deliver NAD in a more active form, oh my gosh.
When you say more active form, I mean NAD is NAD, right? It's NAD plus. It's in the reduced form, right?
Yes.
Which is why you can't take it orally.
That's right.
Because it just neutralizes the plus that you see on the back of NAD. So people take nicotinamide riboside, nicotinic acid, NMN, nicotinamide mononucleotide, which I think Dr. Sinclair's done a great job of popularizing, along with his glucophages like metformin. I think my preference would probably be berberine. So talk about some of the promising research on NAD for that matter. I mean, my understanding of NAD is you can't take it orally or sublingually, right? Because the reduced form becomes non-reduced.
And
you can inject it.
Well, injected is one way of getting into the system. But again, my delivery system is, my product is stable in my lab for almost 4 years now. So I have a stable product now.
Stable NAD.
NAD
plus.
In my lab.
Yeah. Wow.
Only thing I have not figured out is, does it go topically, sublingually, nasal spray? Now that's my next research phase right now.
Right.
So when that comes out, I'll have it access to my few doctors first.
And NAD, I think faces the same sort of stigma that if you put too much NAD into the body, would you reduce your own production of NAD?
I'm guessing that's true also.
I would as well. And I don't have any randomized clinical trial that I'm aware of to prove that. But so I think in small doses or in bolus doses when you're ill or you're facing a viral pathogen or something, it seems to make a lot of sense. But as a supplement to extend life, knowing what I know about the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain and the mitochondria, it seems to make a lot of sense because NAD's role in mitochondrial health is very well documented. But I guess the question becomes: can you overdose with NAD, or can we even get NAD effectively into the body through some other mechanism?
Well, that's what we're going to find out. Because if you give NR or NMN or something like that, it's okay because your body's stimulating those own production. So there's a rate limiting step by the body is working on to produce itself.
Right. So you're not going to overdose.
You know, overdose. But when you give NAD straight up, there's a potential of overdose, and that's the same thing with glutathione. I have to do the work early on. That's why the release will not be there fast enough.
Right.
But it's in my works to get that one. But my next few projects I'm working on right now is I want to get those 2, 3, 4, 5 amino acid fragments. Those building blocks, so the body doesn't have to work so hard, and use the building blocks like Lego pieces and make proteins and things like that for different parts. If your bone needs help, the bone fragments and skin fragments, and
so you could actually do, ideally a transdermal supplement for bone repair or to enhance, muscle anabolism or anything.
And all the small building. So basically, small peptides is what I'm more interested in.
In your work with NAD, are you trying to isolate you have a stable NAD product, and now the question is the delivery pathway? Because I don't think having stable NAD is that earth-shattering. Having stable NAD that could be administered in a non-intravenous route would be pretty astounding. So
the NAD is only stable for a few hours. So the fact that we have stable for over a year, 2 years now.
And is this in cold temperatures or this
cold temperature?
Cold temperature.
Cold
okay.
temperature. Yes.
So like a refrigerator.
Refrigerator item. Yeah.
Okay. And so you've stabilized it for several years, and you're working now with different mechanisms of delivery.
Yep.
Do you think you'll ever get to a transdermal NAD? Because I have seen the NAD patches now that you put a strap on, you soak it with NAD, and you put this patch on your arm. I forget the brand name of it. It was suspect to me, not because I know anything about their science, and I will say that if you know the brand, I won't mention it on the air, but just my human biology meter went up a little bit because I thought that there's so many impediments to getting things transdermal that I wondered if the patch was just, sort of moistly drying on the skin, or if it was actually delivering NAD. If
you have to soak up and put some occlusions or all kinds of things in there, it's trying to drive it because there's a lot of barriers in your skin that is not allowing it to penetrate inside.
Right.
When you have to use barriers on top of the product to kind of force it in there, it's only going to happen so much. Right. And so that's what my concerns are. Like when you apply glutathione, it just goes in like this.
Right. I do notice it. I mean, it's a little sticky right after I apply it, and then it's just gone.
Gone. Right?
Yeah. And then when I touch my skin, I can't feel that it's even there. I can't smell that it was there.
It's already gone. Everything. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Every time we apply something, like if you apply a hormone cream, let's say you apply testosterone or estrogens or whatever, we apply the cream, it's there for a day.
Right.
It's slowly seeping in through the lipid layers and all those things, and so the skin is a gigantic barrier to get inside your body. Anything.
Right. It's one of those things that we warn women about. Our OBGYN, Dr. Sarda, is warning women about it all the time. That when they have young, when they're nursing, we don't put them on hormones. But when they have young children around, especially if they're holding the children alive, I mean, those hormones, testosterone is the main one that they're putting on topically. They're going right through the baby's skin and right into their body, and they can cause toxic reactions because you're talking about putting an adult dose of
in babies
transdermal
it's
hormone.
just crazy.
And
So we want to make sure that any delivery system I make, it needs to be effective and has to get intracellularly. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, that's okay. I have other products to work on.
And your background was, as a pharmacologist, was in drug delivery. Is that right? Or
so it happened to be drug delivery. It was not my major was pharmacy. I was a clinical pharmacist, designing drug protocols for my celebrity clients and doctors. I usually train my doctors and work with them to help their patients. So that's what I do full time. So they come to me and say, hey, I have this patient so-and-so with this issues. Can you do the hormones? Can you do the endocrine hormones? They can do the nutrition plans and all of the medications they're taking. Can you make a complete package so that way we don't have duplicating drugs, making sure everything is streamlined and see what the plans are. So that's what I design. But what happens is that all my clients, they are very high network individuals, are looking for a little more than what they're getting.
Right.
I said,
so are all of mine.
Right? This is not enough. This is just barely cutting the mustard right now. I need something that is better than what this is. And so research is now, I'm spending a lot more time in research now and trying to figure out products and molecules that the people are looking for. And I want to deliver them in a more effective way, because injecting products is just getting too complicated.
And we've noticed that too in our clinics that the oral route of delivery is, in a lot of cases, is kind of a crapshoot. When you look at the oral dosage versus the serum concentration in the blood versus like when you do a cellular nutrition assay, and you're seeing how much of it is actually going through the cell membrane and actually ending up in the cell and measurable in the cell. Different, which we've honed in on with methylation, different forms of B12, based on your methylation, will have higher intracellular concentrations. When you do these methyl detox profile tests, and then you combine that with a cellular nutrition assay. So one is measuring how much is getting into the blood, and then the other is how much is getting into the cell. We see that all forms of B12 are not, the same in terms of intracellular absorption. All forms of folate and folic acid and its precursors are not the same in terms of their intracellular absorption. So, now that you have this stable NAD molecule, I guess the next thing is to figure out how to get it into the body and then to somehow be able to measure, what's its utilization.
Yes.
And so talk a little bit about the role of NAD in the body, because I think everybody by now has kind of heard of NAD and they know it's like a good thing. But what does it really do?
And that's the part I have not dwelled too much into it personally myself, because, again, first I need to figure out, can I make this product? I know that it's big enough for me to work on it. And then once I figure out how to get the body, how to get the into the system, I'm going to look at each and every chemical pathways that is affecting and see, can I do some studies on those pathways to making sure that, okay, now I know that NAD is getting into the system. It's every chemical reaction. If you look at the whole Krebs cycles, everything is NADPH to NAD. Everything. It's all day long.
It's all that oxidation, that reduction reaction. So then, then talk about glutathione as the major antioxidant in the human body. What other implications would drive somebody to need additional glutathione? Are there medications interrupting our and pharmaceuticals, certain pharmaceuticals interrupting our capacity to either generate glutathione, or are they interrupting the glutathione pathway? So if I was someone listening to this podcast and I was on XYZ medication, like they say, if you're on a statin, you definitely need to be taking CoQ10.
Yes.
Right? Because statins will reduce the CoQ10, and so you should therefore supplement with it. They say if you're on methotrexate, you should be taking methylfolate, or they say folic acid, but really methylfolate, because it interrupts that pathway. So what are some of the, common pharmaceuticals that people that are listening to this podcast might be taking that would give them even more impetus to take
So
glutathione?
all the medication that goes to your liver. So
Which is pretty much everything.
pretty much exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
All your blood pressure pills,
Yeah.
all your hormones you're taking, both the gonadal hormones as well as pituitary hormones, antidepressants that you're taking, antibiotics.
So ghrelin hormones, so like the semaglutides and the tirzepatides, those GLP-1 and GDP inhibitors.
That's a whole different animal. So if you're talking about the semaglutides, all the GLP-1s, what's happening today is that these people are losing weight. They're losing the adipose tissue. Adipose tissue is actually sequestering all your toxins in your body
Yes.
and holding it. And now we're letting it go.
Yes.
Imagine that you go out on the streets and the garbage guy is not coming up and all the trash is on the streets everywhere now.
Yes. I warn about this all the times in these rapid weight loss patients. A lot of them end up getting quite sick. I mean, just when I say quite sick, I mean not deathly ill, but just these prolonged flu-like symptoms while they're experiencing very rapid weight loss from the release of these toxins in the fat cells.
That's what we need glutathione to conjugate them and kind of sequester them back and just dump it into the urine and intestines. But to make that happen, they got to drink lots of water, make sure they eat fiber. They have to have the proper diet. If you're eating the Standard American diet, SAD, they need glutathione like yesterday.
Right.
But if they need SAD diet, then they may not be able to afford glutathione in the first place. because-
Right. They're still eating the food pyramid with Lucky Charms at the very top. Yeah. Over grass-fed steak.
So anyway, those are things. If you're using those toxic cosmetic products, that's another issues too. So there's so many things.
Yeah, I had an interesting conversation about the toxic cosmetic products the other day with Dr. Barbara Sturm. She's an MD. She started Dr. Sturm Cosmetics, and her whole idea was to get these non-toxic cosmetics out into the marketplace. But she said something very interesting to me. She said that all these young, especially girls, are shopping at Sephora, and they're when they're growing up and they're prepubescent. They're either prepubescent or they're just entering puberty, and a lot of these endocrine disruptors and hormone disruptors that are and chemicals and synthetics that are in these makeups that are highly unregulated are having demonstrative effects on these. You understand if it's able to affect a young, non-menstruating female or have them start their menstrual cycle early. I mean, just think of the effects in adult men and women too for some of these topicals. And so are topical cosmetics, are those not only increasing the need for glutathione, but what is your feeling on a lot of these topical cosmetics in terms of their hormone disruption or endocrine disruption?
So a lot of the cosmetics have removed the endocrine disruptors out of the system because the clean beauty is everywhere now. People are putting the ingredients list on the favorite search engines and figure out, okay, I'm not going to take these chemicals because it's not going to be healthy for me. So they're doing that part. But what you're talking about are those young people, they cannot have the resources. They're going to those favorite mass marketers and buying the fancy creams. They're cheap, but don't have the clean beauty sticker on it or something that they have not is not formulated by pharmacists that understands the chemicals.
Right.
And so it's there, but it's getting less and less. If you ask me the same 20 years ago, I will tell you, oh my God, we had a huge problem.
Yeah. What are some of the things that moms and dads can look for on the back of those labels that they don't want their kids putting on their face? Some of those like retin A's or...
So my biggest pet peeve is anything to do with the retin. Retin A, retinol. It is very toxic to young girls. It's very toxic. I mean, you don't give vitamin A to anybody, young girls, especially if they're going to get pregnant. In fact, vitamin A is something in the pharmacy we do a pregnancy test before you prescribe it to you.
Wow.
Is that toxic? But the retinol has been used like everybody uses it. I said,
I see it in everything.
Everything. And it's toxic.
Yeah. So you think that these a lot of these retinal creams those are things to be avoided because they're direct endocrine disruptors.
They are. Then we also have the quinones, the hydroquinones, the skin lightening agents.
Yeah.
Even though they are...
I've seen a lot of those. You can get them at Costco in like tubs, really.
Yeah,
And
like
just-
a mayonnaise jar.
Yeah. And just slather it on your face.
Crazy. But I think what we need to do is we need people like you to educate. We need people like you to bring this out, to tell people that, hey, look at these things.
Yeah.
Don't take my word for it. Do your own research if you have to.
So as an offset to some of these like chemical assaults, and I'm a huge believer that the dosage does not really determine the poison. Sometimes the cumulative dosage determines the poison. Sometimes something may not be toxic in a given dosage, like cyanocobalamin, the
B12.
cyanide-based form of B12. But in cumulative doses, it can certainly have a detrimental effect, especially when you look at the detoxification pathway. Like, okay, well, one thing is how does this get into the body? And the second thing that is very often overlooked is how does it get out? What are the byproducts of methylating this nutrient? And then how does the body rid itself of those byproducts, which should further support the need for excess glutathione. And so in your opinion, a daily regular dose, 200 milligrams of glutathione applied topically day or even day and night is not going to have any long-term detrimental effects on endogenous production.
So that comes to a very good question that you asked me right now is, and this is something that I've been pondering on for a while now, because when you ask a question, can your body take too much glutathione? And the answer is no, until the topical version came in. This topical version, if you take too much of it, it's straight available, bioavailable to your body. So your body can actually go from an oxidative stress state to the opposite, which is reductive state. And so that is not healthy. That is not healthy at all.
When you say reductive state, what does that mean?
So there you go, because you've never heard of it before.
Right.
Because it doesn't exist.
Right.
It doesn't exist. There's no medication in the world today that can put your body from oxidative stress state to zero oxidation. Zero. Null. And when you go to that stage, your body body becomes very lazy, it becomes reactive. So that's where you get rashes and itching, and so it is not a healthy state to be in.
The reduced state.
Reduced state.
Yeah.
So the question is, can I get to a high enough but not overboard? So that was my first research, because that's when I first found out. I said, hey, what is this happening? Right? So I need to figure that portion out first thing. So when I say 100 milligrams twice a day or 200 milligrams twice a day, maximum dose, is because at that dosages, I'm getting your RBC levels of glutathione to high normal, but it's not going overboard.
Okay.
It's like, for example, testosterone. Testosterone is from 250 to 1100, but there are guys that are taking enough testosterone to go to 1500, 2000.
Right.
You can't do that with glutathione.
Right.
Because if you get too more, the body flips out.
Why? Because it literally is just pulling too much out of the cell.
Yes. And it's not healthy at all. And the body gets into Herxheimer reactions. And so
Most of us have a very difficult time meeting our protein needs, and certain protein sources like whey protein and others can be as little as 20% absorbable. This is 99% absorbable, and it has all of the essential amino acids that the body needs to build lean muscle, to recover, to improve our exercise performance, and most importantly, to repair after we have intense exercise. So this is called Perfect Amino by Body Health. It's, like I said, 99% absorbable. It only has 2 calories. Eventually, the caloric intake has virtually no caloric intake. It will not break a fast. It tastes amazing. You mix it in water. I take this literally every single morning. If you're working out in a fasted state, you have to take a full spectrum amino acid prior to your workout to preserve your lean muscle and make sure that you're recovering properly. And again, it will not break your fast. So the caloric impact is virtually zero. You get all of the full spectrum amino acids. It tastes wonderful. I use it every single day. You can go to bodyhealth.com/ultimate. That's bodyhealth.com/ultimate and look for the perfect aminos. They actually come in capsules if you're on the go, or it comes in several flavors that they make in a powder, which I love. It's flavored with natural means of flavoring, so there's no artificial sweeteners in here. So this is one of my absolute favorite products. Give it a try. If you're working out at all, you need a full spectrum amino acid. Go to bodyhealth.com/ultimate. That's bodyhealth.com/ultimate. I love their lab tested products. You can actually see the absorption rate for all of their products. They've got great electrolyte protein combinations. My favorite is the perfect aminos. bodyhealth.com/ultimate. And now back to the Ultimate Human Podcast.
So this is why if you stick to the dosaging, then you'll never have a problem with it. And you can take it for the rest of your life and no issues whatsoever. But the only time it happens is when I have a lot of clients, they think that, oh, glutathione, if this is that good, I want to take more.
Yeah.
And
Everybody feels the same way. They do it with the cold plunges. They do it with everything. You know, I see like these guys getting 37-degree cold plunges underwater for 12 minutes, you know, getting the sauna as hot as they can possibly get it till it's almost 3rd degree, burning their skin and then staying in there for 40 or 60 minutes. It's like more is not necessarily better. Some of these, you know, treatments are meant to be like guardrails, you know, like a little bit of cold shock, you know, can do the body phenomenal good. A little bit of heat shock can do the body tremendous good. Sweating, a little bit of oxygen, but not too much oxygen. A little bit of red light, but not too much red light. A little bit of sunlight, but not overdoing it on sunlight. And glutathione appears to be the same thing.
Same thing.
And how soon can someone start taking glutathione? I mean, can you take glutathione if you're a child? I mean, or is it weight dependent? Is it like an absorption issue?
So we give to young kids, like 1-month-old babies. We have done that in the past. But most of the time, if you're under the age of 30, your body is able to keep up with the demand.
Okay.
It's able to keep up with the demand, unless you have disorders where you have a gene mutation where we cannot conjugate glutathione. Then those are people end up with a spectrum disorder. Those people are going to need lifelong therapy with glutathione. So those are different.
So you're even saying spectrum disorders because, you know, autism is, as I understand it, the intensity of the spectrum is somewhat related to the amount of neural inflammation.
Yes.
And obviously, if we can reduce neural inflammation, that would be a good thing in all of these kinds of conditions like autism, and ADD and ADHD and Alzheimer's and dementia and any other neuropathic condition of the brain, I would assume, can benefit from reduced neural inflammation. But are you saying there's a special need for those people that are autistic or might be on the spectrum, so to speak?
Any spectrum disorder? I'm going to give a plug to Dr. Joseph Maroon. He's a chief neurologist at Pittsburgh University. He's the team doctor for Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay.
So
he's going to be next on my podcast, by the way. No.
We've been working on
I'll hunt him down.
We've been working with him on this glutathione because this is the only glutathione that has shown to improve blood across blood-brain barrier to show some positive results in patients with concussions and
CTEs and traumatic brain injury.
And so, I mean, if listeners out there looking for it, please help us. We're looking for funding to NIH because we want to go through NIH to do the clinical trial to see if we can brain map the glutathione completely.
Oh, wow. So you can actually...
We have a patent. There's a guy who has a patent or a system where he can do the brain mapping of glutathione levels without a needle. It's just a scanner.
Wow.
And so we need
and it scans and picks up those 3 amino acids.
No, glutathione.
That's what I mean. The glutathione. Yeah.
The glutathione itself.
Wow.
And so if you see a hot spot in the frontal lobe, and that's the cause of Parkinson's, wait a second. If I can get the levels up to high enough to the frontal lobe, is it possible that I can reduce the chance of Parkinson's? Or can I treat it differently? What dose do I give? How often to give? How much I give? So, I mean, we would love to do those kinds of work next as well because we've seen the results, but the results are too sporadic. It requires a formal trial to figure out what needs to be done. And then we can predict Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS. I mean, there is no treatment today for any neurological disorders.
Right. I mean, there's management, but no
real... There's nothing.
Yeah,
because we don't know anything at this point.
Yeah, they were really managing symptoms. So we've, you know, what's astounding to me is that the amount of conditions like this, autoimmune even specifically, where we label the immune system as being dysfunctional, like it's turned on the body. You know, Crohn's disease, it's attacking the colon. You know, and Sjogren's, it's attacking the lacrimal gland, and you know, Hashimoto's, it's attacking the thyroid. But the question is, why do we have such a parabolic rise in these autoimmune conditions. I mean, are we just having a parabolic rise in the humanity's immune systems breaking down? I don't believe that. I believe that the immune system has always been, in the majority of cases, properly functioning. It is just attacking some kind of pathogen, bacteria, mycotoxin, heavy metal. I mean, I just read a study on heavy metal toxicity in Hashimoto's and how there is an enormously high prevalence of metals within the thyroid in patients whose immune system is attacking the thyroid, and maybe it's not actually attacking the thyroid; it's actually trying to get to the heavy metal. And it's destroying the thyroid tissue in the process. What kind of implications does glutathione have for autoimmune conditions?
So for the autoimmune, the main thing what we do is if the causing agent is something that glutathione can conjugate and detoxify.
And what is it really good at conjugating and detoxifying?
Heavy metals for sure.
Glutathione?
Yes.
Really?
So we had done a 34-patient trial. We were hired by this company out of Japan. They wanted to do a heavy metal detox. Japan has a lot of metal toxicity, even today's date.
Wow.
And so they wanted to do something with glutathione to do a detox studies. Of course, everything passed. Only thing they could not pass is who's going to apply this sticky stuff on the arms every day. So they kind of...
I would if I had heavy metal toxicity, especially in my brain.
Yeah.
I'll bathe in it,
Yeah, exactly. But I guess they did not like that idea. They were trying to get it orally. But it worked for arsenic, mercury, cadmium. We could not figure out aluminum, and we could not figure out lead. But these three were...
Well, mercury is right up there with the most common heavy metal toxicities in the world. And so it was able to help to methylate out the heavy metal.
They saw an increase in the urine excretion of all these heavy metals.
Wow.
Yeah.
With administration of 200 milligrams of this transdermal
100
glutathione.
milligrams twice a day. Yep.
100 milligrams twice a day.
Yeah, 4 sprays twice a day.
And do you have any other specific indications for it that you've done randomized trials on?
So we have only done one randomized trial. And the trial was done, it was an IRB approved in California for just absorption. And what they want to do is they thought that if glutathione is if you say that this is this powerful, I want to see, can it get rid of mycobacterium? There's no cure for Mycobacterium avium at this point, or tuberculosis, anything. Any mycobacterium, there's no antibiotics for that, right?
Right.
You do a 1-year-long treatment for antibiotics and hopefully it'll go away, but it doesn't go away. Then you do a test every year to see if it's there. So it was a 3-day trial. 3-day trial.
3-day trial for mycobacterium.
Yes. And what they found out was they applied the glutathione over here. They drew the blood in 1 hour. And in 4 hours, the load went down for mycobacterium.
No.
It's not an antibiotic. But what happened was they saw a rise in all the interleukins, the IL-2, the IL-12s, the TNF alpha, interferon gamma, all the cytokines, they are pro-inflammatory to help get rid of, to activate the macrophages to go get the bugs and get rid of it from your body.
Right.
We saw within 1 hour.
Wow.
And so that was published. That was published last year in the Journal of Antioxidant. And it was just and people could not believe it was just a 3-day trial because what are you going to see in 3 days?
Right.
We needed 3 days.
It's the shortest trial I've ever heard of.
Yeah, we only need 1 day.
Wow.
And 1 day we saw these results coming in. They saw a reduction of the MD, which is oxidative stress markers, within 4 hours.
Wow. So someone could expect that. I certainly don't want to put words in your mouth or overplay the role of glutathione, but as a strategy for healthy aging, for longevity, for those people that are like, I want to be as optimal as possible. What's a safe dosage? What's a safe amount of time to use it? And without knowing intracellular levels or your methyl detox profile, what's a safe protocol for somebody that says, all right, I like what I'm hearing. I mean, glutathione's certainly something I want to add to my regimen. So
I would suggest everybody to, if they have no conditions whatsoever, they are otherwise completely healthy, and everybody has a little bit issues here and there. That's not a big deal. If they don't have major conditions, 100 milligrams or the glutarol 4 sprays twice a day is a great starting and ending dose.
Okay.
Because he's just getting enough every single day, twice a day, to keep on body helping your body slowly get rid of all the toxins out of the system.
I mean, we know that, I talk about this all the time, how, cancer is essentially a metabolically healthy cell shifting to a metabolically sick cell. It's becoming metabolically sick. And there's evidence that metabolically sick cells can actually be reverted back to metabolically healthy cells. I certainly don't want to make the stretch that it's anti-cancer, but it would seem to me that healthy detoxification pathways, healthy waste elimination. I'm talking about cellular waste elimination, healthy detoxification from glutathione would result in less sick cells, metabolically sick cells.
And again, we do work with a lot of oncologists, and they've been using in some protocols here and there.
But I've actually heard not to use glutathione if you're in oncology treatment because it will protect the cancer cell from the.
That's a theory.
Okay.
That's a theory because again, no glutathione has ever been invented to intercellular levels, anyways. So that's just a theory. And again, we don't prescribe anything, so they have to be working with their own oncologist to making sure that they are working for them. I mean, we had some great success stories. This is, again, patient of one patient here, one patient there, but they are coming up with the stories of one lady had a stage 4 cancer spread to the liver, 2% survival rate. She's a physician herself.
Wow.
2% survival rate, prescribed so much chemotherapy that if the cancer did not kill her, chemotherapy will kill her.
Right.
That was how much was prescribed. And so she asked the doctor, said, can I take glutathione with it? Because the doctor goes, hey, you got 2% survival rate. You get to do what you want to do.
Right.
So she used the product in conjunction with all the chemotherapy. What found out was after 18 months of chemo, she had no side effects from the chemo. And today she's cancer-free.
Wow.
Because of the chemo. But the thing is, how many people get to see on the other side of chemo healthy, functioning with no side effects? So that was something that was very, very different and unique. So again, this is not a chemo drug at all. It's not going to help with cancer. I don't think so, personally. But there's a potential that if you work with the oncologist, that there's a chance that you can work in conjunctions with other treatments to see if we can protect the other cells.
Yeah, of course. Because I mean, I would imagine. I mean, chemotherapy is not just damaging to cancer cells; it's damaging to it's toxic to all the cells, which is why people lose their hair and they become very frail, and muscle waste and appetite.
Neuropathy. It's a big one.
Yeah, neuropathy being a big one. And in post-oncology, do you see that glutathione is helping accelerate the return back to normalcy by helping with? So
what I can see physically is, if somebody's on a chemo, it shows up on the skin. This becomes completely lathery, like this.
Yes.
It's very flat. And you can tell that this person was on chemotherapy drug because the oxidative stress is so high that there's no collagen production in your skin, on your face. Everything is gone.
No collagen production.
Yeah. It's just damaging your skin as an organ completely.
Right.
So when we give the glutathione, I start seeing all the pinkish hue coming on the face, and they start glowing better. They feel better. So visually I can see that part. What's happening internally, I do not know. But visually I do see that part. So that was the early on for me to design the skincare line was for people they were using for chemotherapy, because I was using post-chemo patients to use this product for them.
Because you got to go really direct to the skin, because you can't really trust the internal route.
Exactly.
Because it's been so damaged from chemotherapy, especially if that had radiation in that area. I know several patients that have had radiation in the throat region, and the outside of the skin is badly damaged.
That's all oxidative stress. And glutathione is the perfect medicine to reduce oxidative stress down.
Yeah. I love I use the analogy all the time of, in plant biology, when we fix the soil, the nutrients in the soil, the plant heals, the trunk, the leaves, the branches. I use that analogy all the time. I feel like we've kind of stopped thinking about human beings this way, that we've lost a lot of faith in humanity and mankind, the body's ability for the brain to heal the body, for the body to heal itself. And I think we rarely try to support healthy waste elimination and detoxification, and I mean at a cellular level, when we're talking about pathology and disease. We're just so narrowly focused on what the pathology is, what the disease condition is, and we don't look at the consequences of the body's own waste elimination pathways being compromised. And I see very little downside as a human biologist in supporting healthy cellular waste elimination.
Because it's been ingrained in our minds that us in America, we want to solve world's problem. We can solve the body's problem. The body says, no, I can deal with my own problems. Just give me the nutrients I need, and I'll take care of it. Don't give me medicine. Don't fix my problem. I can fix my own problem.
And that's coming from a pharmacist, right?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Well, yeah, you're not very popular in your profession.
No, I'm not. That's why you'll never see me behind the counter working in the pharmacy anymore, because I'll probably...
Not a lot of keynote speeches coming your way for the pharmacy conventions.
I do keynote speeches, but
you do?
but I teach people on how to think outside the box. Because I tell my pharmacists, I said, if you want to progress in your profession, you got to help people get healthy. The drugs today, we have 3,000 plus medications in my pharmacy today.
Wow.
None is helping you solve your problem. They're managing your problem.
Managing your symptoms.
But they're not solving anything for you.
Yeah.
And that's why my book says The Glutathione Revolution. Why? It is truly a revolution, because if you understand what glutathione does, glutathione is just empowering your body. It's just empowering your body to do what it's supposed to do. And when you do that part, you're not solving the problem for the body. You're just giving the ammunition, so the body's going to do everything on its own. You're just feeding them with the nutrients that the body needs, and just sit back and relax and enjoy the body.
Yeah. You know, I saw a talk from, I want to say it was the Age Management Medicine Group conference. I think it was an internist that spoke at the Age Management Medicine Group conference that broke down just what you were saying about pharmaceuticals by category. If you were to broadly categorize them as disease maintenance, or disease management and symptom maintenance, you would encapsulate 99% of all the pharmaceuticals on the market right now. Yep. If you were to then look at cure-based outcomes, you would have less than 1% are designed to completely stop, and those were mainly the antibiotics,
That's right.
pharmaceuticals that were directly related to a specific pathogenic infection. I don't know how much truth there is to that. I haven't looked that statistic up myself, but even if it's anywhere in that realm, it just shows you that, you know, our focus is on maintaining a disease state, but managing the symptoms from that disease state. Like we don't take metformin or insulin to stop diabetes. Right, we take it to manage diabetes.
Insulin resistance,
and most people are managing their diabetes for an entire lifetime.
And the reason is because
reversing it.
What we have found out is in the medicine is that we see one enzyme and say, oh, if I block this enzyme, if I not block this pathway, I'll solve the problem. But we do not know that this enzyme is going to be in 10 other reactions.
Right. Very myopically looking at this enzyme. Yeah, I mean, I've often said that some of the worst research, in my opinion, done on human beings is where we study things in isolation, right? Just like you're saying, we isolate one redox reaction, or we isolate one enzyme, and we say, based on this finding, when I put it back into the human body, it's going to behave exactly like this.
That's it.
And it doesn't.
And unfortunately, I'm not here to badmouth government at this point, but I'm just telling that.
Yeah, no one in my audience will take badmouthing the government.
But FDA is looking at approving drugs based on outcomes for particular diseases.
Yeah.
And so there's no nutraceuticals as FDA approved product, but you have to be attached to a particular outcome. So they can see, if you get these outcomes, fine, I'll give it to you. But if you just say that, hey, if this is safe and there's no problem with it, and we're just replacing glutathione back in your system, they will not approve the drug. Because what does it do? Well, there's so many reactions.
Right.
Well, you cannot market this product as all these reactions. So what are you going to market as?
Right.
So they're looking at what are you going to market as, and if that's what you're going to market, that's all you can say it. So let's say if you say that glutathione is going to be good for removing alcohol from your body. Okay, that's all you're going to say.
Right.
Show me a study, and that's all you're going to measure that part. But yet, that is not even the main focus. The main focus is so much more. And so we have lost focus on how we get the drug approval process. And quite honestly, I think we need to figure this thing out to see what else can we do to have better medicine for mankind to flourish instead of solving the problems for our body. That's what I'm going at.
Yeah, I agree with that. So, Dr. Patel, what else does my audience need to know about glutathione, and where it's the next 5 years for Dr. Patel? In a perfect world, what's going to come out of your lab in the next 5 years?
Well, next 5 years, my patients are probably not going to see a whole lot of drugs, because if it comes out, it'll be coming out to the doctor's offices first.
Okay.
It's like, just keep in mind, because it took me 15 years to release glutathione.
Wow.
I discovered back in 2007.
What, just because of the research?
Research.
Really?
I never released any product until I know for a fact that I'm going to give it to myself, my dad, my family, everybody else,
Right.
and they're healthy as hell.
Yeah.
And then I make sure that I have some studies to back it up, and I do my own research to make sure that what I'm creating is actually working for my patients. So,
Okay.
But if you're working with you or doctors' offices that I work with, you'll have early access to those products.
Okay.
These are my small fragments. I'm looking at some skin peptides right now. I'm looking at NAD as a peptide right now. So I'm looking at few products that are earth-shattering. Because I have very few years left in my research now, maybe 10, 20 years left. And I want to make sure that I make a major impact. Glutathione itself it's a once-in-a-lifetime impact for me.
Yeah.
But if I have one more product above and beyond that, would be
And
fabulous.
right now you've got NAD in development and
Some few peptides.
and a few peptides. That's amazing to hear. Well, I always end every podcast by asking my guests the same question. So there's no right or wrong answer to this question, but what does it mean to you to be an ultimate human?
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to give you a story because I just lost my father 2 weeks ago.
Sorry to hear that.
So he was 89, walking 6 miles per day, enjoying life, travels the world. He just fell down and just gone.
Am I?
No, he fell down. Blunt force trauma on his head, hemorrhaging, and the cause of death, they say, was brain hemorrhage because he was stable, conscious, everything was fine. We talked to Dr. Joseph Maroon. Talked to him. He saw the CT scan, everything was fine. So to be the ultimate human, what I see, I look at my dad. I said, I wish I can literally do everything I wanted to do. Walk, travel, enjoy life, everything. And when my time is up, just pick me up. Pick me up. And hopefully my time is not until 120 or 150, hopefully. But when my time is up, just pick me up. Do not make me suffer.
Right.
And so everything that I do today is making sure that I give my body the chance to literally self-heal itself. I want it to completely be free of medicine, free of every single thing that is not natural to humans.
Yeah.
If I can do that part, and the body is just like perpetually healing itself and it goes all the time, that'll be ultimate for me.
Fantastic, dude. What a great answer. What an absolutely amazing answer. And I happen to philosophically really agree with you. I feel like modern medicine is coming full circle. We're getting back to the basics. We're starting to realize that we should believe more in what God gave us than what man makes us. And that when we enhance the things that nature provided us from the very beginning, we start to reach things like, ending disease and pathology and really living an optimal life. So I philosophically really agree with you. I can't thank you enough for coming on the podcast today. I think everybody is going out to buy glutathione right now. I literally, it's funny. I use your product and I actually sprayed it on my forearm before I came in here. Especially for those of you that have the MTHFR gene mutation or other gene mutations that interrupt glutathione, pathways and cellular waste elimination. He is a phenomenal human being, has an incredible product. I will put it in the show notes below. How can people find out more about you? How can people find you, get your book?
The book is available everywhere. I think it's on it has Audible, has a Kindle. I'm a paper book kind of guy, so I have a paper books. So it is on my website as well. My website is orowellness.com.
Oral wellness.
AUROwellness.com/Gary.
/Gary. I got my own.
You're going to get your own landing page.
Oral wellness. AURO wellness.com. Orowellness.com. So we'll put that in the show notes too. I'll put a link to your book in there. Do you have an Instagram?
I do have an Instagram.
Okay.
It's at Oro Wellness.
Okay. Same thing. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Beautiful. So we'll drive.
And at Oro Skincare as well. We have two of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
It's just people when they feel good from inside,
Yeah.
they want to look beautiful too.
Yeah.
Right? And
Amen.
so we want to help them.
Okay.
We really do.
Great. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. This was amazing, my friend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And that's just science.